Welcome back to the Kossy podcast. My name is Kossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and transfer news as well. Welcome back to another massive week. Arsenal are entering the Premier League season this week. And of course, we start off with Wolverhampton Wanderers. We're going to be diving into that. We have to talk about the transfers because Edu has said this week we expect some good things to happen, and before the window ends, we expect some interesting things to happen. But also, most importantly, we have to talk about Kingsley Coman. Arsenal are very active in searching for a winger, and that could be a left winger or a winger that can play on both sides. And Kingsley Coman is the latest name that we are discussing, and this deal could be a loan option plus an option to buy, or plus an obligation to buy as well. As far as I understand, Kingsley Coman is one of the players that were already set to leave Bayern before Arsenal were mentioned in the conversation, and he was apparently going to Paris Saint-Germain. Now, Paris Saint-Germain have not really signed, but they're close to signing Desire Doué from Bayern. So could that mean that Kingsley Coman is not going to join PSG anymore, and could Arsenal capitalize on that? We're going to be talking about that. We'll be talking about the expectations of the week. Obviously, last week was a little bit dull, and I thought it was a week where we could have capitalized because football was not around the corner, and it was all about transfers. If you've seen your timeline on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, you have realized, or you will have realized, that clubs are doing business. Clubs are really, really doing a lot of business right about now. And it's because June and July were a little bit dull for many clubs. I've seen West Ham are active. I've seen Manchester United are active. I've seen a couple of other clubs are active as well. So I think in the next 21 days, it's not going to be only Arsenal. It's going to be even other clubs. I expect Arsenal to sell in the next 21 days. Is it 21 days? Where today is the 12th of August. I mean, it's less than 20 days, isn't it? It's like 19 days. So in the next 19 days, you expect Arsenal to sell, you expect Arsenal to buy, but you also expect movement on the market around other players. Joao Felix apparently is going to Chelsea if that works. Osimhen to Chelsea is also back on. And I tell you, when you see deals like Joao Felix, when you see deals like Kingsley Coman, when you see deals like Osimhen, you know that the window is coming to a close, because usually Felix, Kingsley Coman, these are players and these are deals that are done towards the end of the window, not towards the beginning of the window. So Arsenal interested in Kingsley Coman. We'll talk about Kingsley Coman. We'll talk about Merino. We'll talk about Gyökeres. We'll talk about our preseason in general, and we also talk about the Premier League that is coming our way in less than 7 days. What about you hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and letting me know? Let me know, guys. Okay. I asked you a question yesterday. Which players do you think Arsenal should sign to complete our transfer summer? Yes, Gyökeres is maybe one of them, but a winger is very necessary. And we are going to talk about the importance of a new arrival on the wings this summer, because it is something that Mikel Arteta and Edu have got to work on. I'm not convinced with Gabriel Martinelli. I'm not convinced with the cover we have on the wings. I am not 100% convinced. But where do we start? This week, we expect the Premier League, if nothing changes, we expect Arsenal to begin their Premier League title chase for the third time. And it's a very big week because Mikel Arteta has got to prepare his squad. Now, he's been talking about who is available and who is not. We have a slight knee injury, not knee injury, a slight foot injury for Timber, who the manager says should be in training this week. We have a slight hip injury for a concern, actually, for Fabio Vieira, who should be back in training as well this week. Tomiyasu, according to Mikel Arteta, he's going to have to be patient. He's going to have to wait. It's going to take him some time. I think Tomiyasu will not begin the season like it was anticipated a couple of weeks ago. But when you look at the last two games we have played, I am not in any way, shape, or form concerned, scared, afraid that we are going to fail to beat Wolverhampton Wanderers. We are going to start off with a win. The game is at the Emirates Stadium, and that is all you need to know. That is all you need. That is all that matters. It's at the Emirates Stadium, and you've got to go and prove to the whole world that you are ready to win the Premier League. Of course, Wolves can be tricky, but preparations this week should consolidate Mikel Arteta's starting 11, the patterns and everything, and we should be able to go ahead. So this week, you will see Arsenal play their first game. It's going to be on Saturday. It's going to be one of those, I think, it's going to be one of those midday, not really midday, but evening kickoffs, right? So listen, it's always good to have Arsenal back. It's always good to have the Premier League back. And I'm so excited for this week like I've never been excited before in my life. I can't wait to see Arsenal play real competitive football with real clubs, in real stadiums. So this week, the Premier League returns to your screens. However, most importantly for Arsenal this week is a couple of deals that we have tried to complete in recent weeks and we have not got over the line. I think that is where we've got to start. That is where we will start this week. Mikel Merino, Eddie Nketiah. And I think we'll start off with Eddie Nketiah because with Eddie, it is so easy now and it's so close. Olympique Marseille are prepared to come back to negotiations this week with Arsenal after having the weekend off. They're prepared to come back, talk to Arsenal about Eddie Nketiah. Last week, Arsenal reduced their demands from the player sale from 35 million euros to 30 million euros. And we also put in a condition, according to David Onstein, we put in a condition that would allow anyone sign Eddie Nketiah this window. And that was, we will accept 30 million euros, but we shall also take a deal that will see Eddie Nketiah go on loan, and then we can get the money later on. It's going to be a loan option plus an obligation. So for me, Olympique Marseille, initially they wanted Eddie Nketiah on loan. I think they're going to get that. They also wanted to pay less than 35 million euros. I think Arsenal have kind of found a median between 35 million euros and 27 million euros. Is like 30 the median? I mean, you could say I'm not very good at mathematics, but it's not far away, is it? So 30 million euros and initially on loan, and we are also hearing that Eddie Nketiah is willing to reduce on his wages in order to join Olympique Marseille. So this one is the first deal we should get out of the door very, very quickly. Although we were told yesterday that it is not true that Arsenal don't have money. It's not true that Arsenal depend on sales or will depend on sales to buy. It's still very important to move on the players that you're not going to use. We want to sign a striker this summer before 31st of August. And if that is the case, why would you keep Eddie Nketiah in the team? So it's going to be new striker in, Eddie Nketiah out. And this week, we should get something like a here we go on Eddie Nketiah. Otherwise, if Marseille don't sign him this week, I won't be surprised to see him in a Brentford shirt, because Brentford are very interested in Eddie Nketiah, but the player at the moment is still very, very focused on going to Olympique Marseille. He thinks and he feels that Marseille at the moment is the club that he wants to play for. And who can blame him for that? The manager at Olympique Marseille, Roberto Di Zerbi, has already told him, you are among my favorite players. You're among my very, very important players. And if you agree to join the project, you're going to be at 100%. You're going to be 100% very important to me. So Marseille are looking to add a striker. Eddie Nketiah is the priority. Arsenal have reduced their demands for Eddie Nketiah. Nketiah is willing to reduce his on his wages. What exactly can block this deal from happening? What can block this deal from happening? And again, for Arsenal, especially Edu, we know that he has a problem with sales. So getting Eddie Nketiah out of the door is very important. Remember, he still has to sell Ramsdale and he still has to negotiate a deal for Reece Nelson. At the moment, Reece Nelson is wanted by Newcastle, but they're not even serious on the, on that. Probably they would be more serious if they lose Anthony Gordon to Liverpool. Aaron Ramsdale, Forest wants him, Southampton wants him, but none of the clubs is willing to offer good money. So if you're Edu, this week is important for you because you're trying to trim the squad, but you're also trying to find a win, right? If you can sell one deal, if you can complete one deal in terms of selling, probably you'll get the momentum and the confidence to go and do other deals. Talking about unfinished business, the other unfinished business is of Mikel Merino. Guys, this one has taken some time, hasn't it? It has really taken some time. But I don't blame Edu for this deal. I actually. And I know there are people who believe, Edu has been very slow, but I think this is a deal that was always going to be tricky with Real Sociedad. Sociedad love their players, and their players love them, as well. To be honest, so I'm not saying, Sociedad are trying to keep players that don't want to play for them. Sociedad players love Sociedad, and Sociedad love their players. So it was always going to be a very difficult deal for Arsenal because initially they wanted to keep. That was their priority. They didn't want to sell to Barca. They didn't want to sell to Atletico Madrid. They didn't want to sell abroad. They wanted to keep him. And the player slowly but surely has established his feelings and established the fact that he doesn't really want to be there. Like, he's just told everyone at Real Sociedad, I don't want to be there. As simple as that. But why this week is also the week for Mikel Merino, I think the question is, why not? Why not? Why would it not be the week for Mikel Merino? It has taken a long time, but at least all the boxes have now been ticked. Personal terms already agreed. Valuation, at least we have an agreement on the valuation, and Arsenal have already proposed a 25 million euro bid. What we are waiting for is for Real Sociedad to set their terms and conditions very well, get that deal agreed on, on the structure, and get that here we go from Fabrizio, and then it's a deal done. If the Mikel Merino deal goes beyond this week, I won't understand it. I won't understand it because I won't understand, and I wouldn't really understand why we got into a Premier League season where we are supposed to be the real challengers, the real champions, and we have only signed one player, and we are still saying, be confident, other players are coming. Preseason has gone, but at least what you want is most of these players to come in the early stages of the season. It's gonna be hectic for Arsenal. Like, Mikel Arteta's mentality right now: win every game. If you're going to win every game and you've not prepared to win every game, it is the same thing as saying, I am going to be a millionaire without you putting in any kind of hard work. Now, for Arsenal, I think we've put in some hard work, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough. The midfield is not my big problem. So I can see, I don't really mind Mikel Merino signing at the end of the window. I really don't mind it. But why I want this deal to get out of the way is because it's taken a long time. We have taken 6 weeks signing a 30 million euro midfielder who's 28 with 1 year left on his deal. If this was the deal to sign Eberechi Eze, what would we do? Because Eze is 60 million, or Martin Zubimendi. Because Zubimendi is 60 million. He still has a deal, and he wants Sociedad that much. So for me, the Mikel Merino deal is so easy for us to do. Player wants Arsenal only, rejected other clubs. Sociedad are willing to sell now. They're asking prices around 30 million euros. But I mean, this is a deal where I wouldn't 100%. I would not have any excuses for Arsenal. Like 100%. If someone told me that this deal collapsed, I wouldn't have any excuses for Arsenal. I would just say we were weak. We didn't. We are not as strong as we thought we would be. So Mikel Merino, I think it's just the here we go that we are waiting for, and that agreement on the structure. The agreement on the structure for Arsenal usually takes time. And why it takes time, Fabrizio revealed last summer that in most cases, Arsenal's add-ons are very unrealistic. So they want to give you 25 million plus 5 million in add-ons, but then those add-ons are if Arsenal win the Champions League next season. Like, we have not won the Champions League in the last 20 years. How do you expect another club to trust that Arsenal are going to win the Champions League next season? Are you okay? So our add-ons and our bonuses are very unachievable, and that is why most of the time clubs are saying your add-ons are going to take time for us to accept. We always take a long time negotiating with other clubs on payment structures and bonuses and everything. But with Mikel Merino, however much Arsenal are difficult to negotiate with, however much our bonuses are difficult, let's get it done this week, guys. Honestly, let us get it out of the way. Let us get it out of the way. Arsenal are looking at a striker. That much we know. And we also know that it might not be Osimhen, as Osimhen now looks to go to Chelsea. It's back on. I'm not saying Arsenal are 100%, zero interest in Osimhen, but they don't like his profile. They don't like his attitude. They don't like his character as a player. And therefore, that brings us to Victor Gyökeres. I think one of the predictions that I've made, and I stood by, and they've been absolutely correct, is when I said that the Victor Gyökeres and Victor Osimhen deals are deals for the end of the window. I said that. And the reason that's why I said that is I knew every club interested in these players was going to wait until the prices drop, until these clubs become desperate. Now, do I think Sporting are going to become desperate? They will become desperate. They will be, probably not very desperate, but they're aware of what is going on the transfer market. They're aware of what's going on with with the winger market and the striker market. They have seen Omrodian go for 35 million. They have seen Osimhen in negotiation with the Chelsea. They have seen Julian Alvarez move. They know the striker market this summer is a big chance to cash in. There is a big chance for them to make some money this summer out of their striker. So I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if the Gyökeres price drops at the same time the Victor Osimhen price drops. I won't be surprised for us to see a 20 million valuation drop in Osimhen, and I won't be surprised for us to see, because Gyökeres is valued at 86. I won't be surprised to see a 15 million drop to 70 million, or even to around something like 67 million. I won't be surprised. I think Arsenal will try to go back on Gyökeres this week. I think we'll try to go back and shake the mango tray, but it might be a deal for next week or even the week after that. Remember, we have 3 games over 3 weekends. So we have the Wolverhampton Wanderers week, which is this week. Then we have the Aston Villa. Is it the Aston Villa or Brighton week? We have the Aston Villa week and then the Brighton week, right? So next week, that's when I feel we'll hear more of the striker talk. This week, I think we'll hear more of the Mikel Merino, Nketiah, and probably a winger. My gut feeling is that Arsenal feel there is a bigger need to sign a winger, even more than a striker. I mean, it only makes sense, guys, for us to assume that Arsenal are desperate for a winger. We have been linked with many. The latest 2 are Simeon Adingra and Kingsley Coman. We're going to talk about them. But before those 2, it's been a line. It's been a line of wingers, Nico Williams, Chiesa, and a couple of others. So it's only right for us to assume that Arsenal feel and Arsenal really want a winger. And for me, it's right to assume that we'll get one. I really think we will get one. Now, let's start off with Kingsley Coman. Coman is an interesting profile. Very, very interesting profile. Kingsley Coman is one of the serial winners in the game by luck, but also by the fact that he's played for big profile clubs. And the time he has played for those clubs, it's been time when they have been dominating football. Kingsley Coman has only gone one season without winning silverware, and that was last season with Bayern Munich. But that is not why we're here. Why we are here is, will Kingsley Coman and should Kingsley Coman be the player Arsenal look to sign? So this story came out a little bit earlier today. Yeah. And it says that it's from the Footy Insider and also Court of Side, and they're saying that Arsenal are keen on signing Kingsley Coman on loan from Bayern Munich. The more details on that story clarify that Kingsley Coman would be open to moving to Arsenal, and Arsenal would love to do an initial loan deal, maybe plus an obligation, or maybe plus an option to buy. So, what are our thoughts on Kingsley Coman? What are your thoughts on Kingsley Coman? I'd love to know, because honestly, I do like Kingsley Coman as a player. I don't know why I feel like he's more of a bench player. And don't get me wrong. He's played at Bayern, and Bayern have had some deadly, dangerous wingers when he has been there. But with a new manager coming in with like company, you thought maybe that would be his time. He's never been that main guy at Bayern. He's never been the main player at Bayern. And he's so impactful as a player when it comes onto the pitch. He's very, very, impactful as a player. He's played at left back. He's played at left wing. He's played at right wing as well. He's so versatile. But at Bayern, he's never been the player, right? He's never been the player that you would say Bayern have relied on. And even with the likes of Serge Gnabry and Sané and Musiala driving Bayern, you thought he can compete with these guys really, but he's never really competed with them. Even when, because for the likes of Douglas Costa, I would say Douglas Costa was an explosive winger, maybe much better. But I just feel like we have never seen the best of Kingsley Coman. Now, why I think a winger is very crucial for Arsenal and Mikel Arteta is this. When you think about the positions that Arsenal can upgrade upon in our squad, there are around 3 positions. Position number 1 is the left wing. Position number 2 is the center forward position. And position number 3 is the left midfield position. So those are the 3 positions where Arsenal can upgrade. The other positions, we are okay. We are okay. Okay, I mean, you can also upgrade the backup to Bukayo Saka. But why I think that the backup to Bukayo Saka would naturally become Gabriel Jesus is this. If you signed a player like Kingsley Coman, he would be competing with Trossard and Martinelli. And then you'd have Gabriel Jesus shifting over to the right-hand side, and then you get a center forward. So I won't be surprised to see Arsenal again not signing a player to cover for Saka, because I think Arsenal look at Saka the same way Liverpool look at Salah. You don't have to get a backup for this guy, because either way, injured or not injured, fit or unfit, he's going to be on the pitch and he's going to be playing football. I'm not saying we don't need one. I'm saying Arsenal might look at it as a wastage. How many games? For example, if we signed a player like, if we signed a typical cover, a player with one role, just the cover of Saka, how many games would they play? Saka plays all games in the Champions League, all games in the Premier League, and most games in the FA Cup. So that player would play like 10 games a season. So I don't think Arsenal are looking at that. But the left wing is a position that Arsenal have tried to upgrade on every single summer. We have not successfully done it, but we have tried to upgrade on that position every single summer. And also at center forward, remember, we have always wanted, we have been linked with a different profile of a center forward. You look at Benjamin Sesko, different profile to Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus. You look at Dusan Vlahovic, different profile. Osimhen, Ivan Toney, all those are different profiles. Yes, Arsenal have not brought in any, but you can see that those are the areas Mikel is looking to upgrade. So Let's talk wingers. Let's start off with Kingsley Coman. Why I like Kingsley Coman as a deal is this. Coman is an experienced winger, but a player who has something to prove. And I want to just confirm his age here. He could be around 28. 28. So he's a player that has got something to prove. He's played 28, for around 8 years on top of his game. And we have really never seen a Kingsley Coman. We have never seen a Kingsley Coman season. When I look at his best season from 2015, he has been at at Bayern. Those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 years. He's been at Bayern for 9 years. And his best season, listen, actually, he has never played 30 games for Bayern Munich, right? His best season was the 2021, where he played 29 games, scored 5 goals, and assisted 10 times. The rest of the seasons is 19 games, 21 games, 17 games, around there. And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that is bad for a club like, Bayern. What I'm trying to say is, as a player, right? As a player, I think you want to get a real grip, on a season. The way Saka has done it, the way Martinelli did it last season, but one, when you get enough football and you really deliver. Because his numbers, Kingsley Coman, are pretty much insane. He's getting almost double figures every single campaign, and he's not getting a lot of football. So I would like him. He's 28. I think Bayern are open to letting him go. If you can agree on a loan deal with an option to buy, or with an obligation to buy the Kingsley Coman, I would be skeptical a little bit. And why I would be skeptical with an obligation to buy with Kingsley Coman is, I don't know, there is something missing about him. I don't know whether I've not seen him enough, right? I don't know whether it's just because I would take Sane in a heartbeat. I would take Serge Gnabry in a heartbeat. But there is just that something about Kingsley Coman that I don't feel. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong about him. But there is just that vibe, that energy about him that it just doesn't sit well with me. It really, really doesn't. But for me, as a deal, it would be an okay deal. Can play on his left, can play on his right, can score goals, experience, Champions League proven. I think if there is a player that I've seen impact Champions League games, has been Kingsley Coman. Like, he's so good at impacting games off the bench. And again, if he comes into Arsenal, unless he has a very wonderful start to his career at the club, the first season he's going to be more of a bench player. Yeah, more of a bench player. And after that, then we can start seeing him, progress into maybe being a starter at Arsenal. He will take on that role of Leandro Trossard. But I think getting him to sign, we might have to release one of Gabriel Martinelli or Leandro Trossard, because I don't see him play more minutes than Saka, but I can see him play more minutes than Trossard, and I can see him play more minutes than Martinelli. So don't be shocked if Arsenal go to the market to sign a winger, and instead of a backup for Saka purely, we sign a player that is going to predominantly play on the left wing, but can also provide that cover for Saka. The other player is Simeon Adingra. Now, with the Kingsley Coman deal, I don't think it will progress this week if we were to sign him. Again, like I said, these deals for the end of the summer. These are deals that clubs do in the last 10 days of the window. In the last 5 days of the window, you find yourself signing Kingsley Coman. A bit like Joao Felix and James Rodriguez deals. They always happen at the end of the window. So Simeon Adingra is the one that would be very interesting for me. And why Simeon Adingra is interesting is because I have a feeling, deep down, I have a feeling that Arsenal are going to try to replace Martinelli. I think Mikel Arteta, when you look at Martinelli right now, does he impress you guys? Are you confident? Does he fill you with confidence? Um, when he played against Leon, I understood because as manager, Mikel Arteta was trying to play the team that he thinks will be playing for us this season. And I understood that, right? I understood that. And that's where Gabriel Martinelli started. There is a big question of what happened to Gabriel Martinelli, and we don't have an answer. If any one of you has an answer, you can let me know. But I don't have an answer of what happened to Gabriel Martinelli. He looks slower. He can't beat a man. He passes backwards to Zinchenko more. His finishing is dead. Okay, rusty. So I think Mikel is having two thoughts. And that's where we're hearing names like Joao Pedro. That's why we're hearing names like Kingsley Coman. That's where we're hearing Nico Williams. That's where we're hearing Simeon Adingra. Because to be honest, Nico Williams starts for Arsenal. If Arsenal were to get Nico Williams, he would start. And that justifies what we are saying. That justifies the fact that we are saying at the moment there might be big trouble, and all the lovers of Martinelli he might be in trouble. Freddie says, stop the jokes. We replace Martinelli. No. Now, listen, I am not saying replace him and throw him out. I'm saying this team will develop past some players. And I know that some of you are attached to players. I love Gabriel Martinelli. And I think he's a talent. And he's really talented. But if you ask a Manchester United fan right now, do you want Marcus Rashford to start? They would say no. There was a time when Marcus Rashford, not far away ago, by the way, not deep in the past, there's a time when Marcus Rashford was one of the most loved players at Manchester United, hottest prospects at Manchester United, most effective players at Manchester United. And I think the club is evolving past Marcus Rashford. I'm not saying Arsenal have evolved past Martinelli, but I'm saying there was a time when Emile Smith-Rowe scored more goals than both Saka and Martinelli combined, and he's no longer at the club. So I tell you this, if Gabriel Martinelli doesn't pull up his socks, he'll find himself at Everton. I'm telling you this. If he doesn't pull up his socks, he'll find himself at Everton. And I'm saying, if Arsenal were in position to sign Nico Williams, Martinelli would be a bench option. Honestly. Because there's no way we're going to sign a left winger, give him 250k a week, sign him for 58 million euros, and he's honestly, at the moment, more productive than Martinelli, and then sit him on the bench because Martinelli is the Arsenal boy. No. So he's got to pull up his socks. He's got to pull up his socks. And this season, I'm not going to protect any player. This season, I'm not going to find reasons for any player. If you've played well, you've played well. If you had a good game, you've had a good game. If you have a bad game, you've had a bad game. Because this season is no excuses. I'm not looking for any excuses. And I'm telling you, among the worst performers in preseason for Arsenal, this preseason has been Gabriel Martinelli. Honestly. And we know that he dropped out of the starting 11 last season because of poor performances. and his performances have not become any better. You can clearly see a player who is getting better. I can say that Gabriel Jesus, from last season to where we are now, he's got better. I can say which other player? I can say Kai Havertz got better. Of course, in preseason, I've not been impressed with him, but he got better, at least during the back end of the last campaign. So I'm not saying replace Martinelli right now, but he's not irreplaceable, right? He's not irreplaceable. We can replace him. We can find another player. If you bring in a player like Kingsley Coman, if you bring in a player like Nico Williams, have you ever asked why Arsenal always linked with wingers, quality wingers, not just backup? Because we would say, let's go for Jasper Asprilla. No. We are always linked with expensive wingers, high-profile wingers, high-quality wingers, players that can play on the left, but also can play on the right. So Martinelli has got to sort out himself. Otherwise, it is not guaranteed that he's going to be Arsenal's boy always. I mean, it's not guaranteed. Paul says, how about Gabriel Jesus? I still wonder what we trust on Fabio Vieira. Don't see anything improving from this guy. Again, with Fabio Vieira, I'm a big fan of Fabio Vieira. Very, very big fan of Fabio Vieira. But I've got to agree with you, Freddie. I don't see any improvements in Fabio Vieira. Actually, I'll tell you this. Last season, at the start of last season, I saw something. This preseason, nothing. Absolutely nothing from Fabio Vieira. Like, no. I've seen nothing from Fabio Vieira to fill me with confidence that he's improving. I've not seen any improvements in Fabio Vieira. With Gabriel Jesus, someone asked about Gabriel Jesus. That was Paul. Paul, I think with Gabriel Jesus, we've got to say this, right? We've got to say this with Gabriel Jesus. He is getting better, but I think the question is, can he stay fit? That is the question. He's getting better, but the question is, can he stay fit? Can he be that player that we can trust and we can rely on for maybe 30, 35 games? We've got to ask that question. Okay. Musa says we just need a striker. No, not Musa. We just don't need a striker. We need more players. That's a lie. It's not just the striker that is missing, more players. Andrew says, actually, I buy your thought of replacing Martinelli because he really, really below average. Indeed, Trossard is a bit better starter at the moment, but ideally, a striker is needed as well. Yeah, a striker is needed. A winger is needed, and a one in midfield. So there's a lot going on. I'm preparing my predictions for the season, and then I'm preparing my general Premier League table predictions. There's a lot coming out for you. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well, and we'll be talking again very soon.